Okay, so I'm going to be going F and then neg. So it's important to note that my opponent dropped a couple of arguments that I had on her case. So she basically admits by doing this that her model of multilateral intervention is outside of the resolution because it was based upon Canada. And so right in the resolution it says United States. So that is out. In response to that, she said that there have been successful interventions. But I would like to note that I brought up an example of a failed intervention. The United States, while they may succeed sometimes, the majority of the time they cause more harm than good. Okay, so she said that it's morally necessary because we have to stop all of these killings. But I would say that it's more morally necessary to stop the potential killings of like an arms race where everybody is gunning for top spot and millions of lives can be taken. I mean, we saw what happened in the Cold War. There were multiple unnecessary wars just because two governments, US and Russia, were gunning for hegemony. So we can see that is a real life example of how negatively that this affects, I mean, when you have this race for hegemony, there are going to be major casualties. There are going to be major casualties that cannot be overlooked. And since my opponent says nothing about utilitarian lens, we are using a utilitarian lens for this round. And so, since this arms race causes this many casualties, then it is seen as the better option in the eyes of the round. Okay, so my opponent also doesn't say anything on the attacks of how she doesn't really state why the U.S. would be justified, like what cases would it be justified. So she really concedes my idea of saying like, okay, well, if I am violated once, if my rights are violated once, one solitary person, then a full intervention is needed. And that's really impractical. That's really, really impractical if that's the model that we're going by. That's just not even, I mean, I've shown to you how it's not cost effective to the US, but if we're going to go and police every single little human rights violation, that's just, I mean, that brings harm upon everybody. So now I'd like to show you how her value criterion is flawed when connecting to her case. So she says that our value criterion is upholding the social contract. So the social contract states that I have a right to my citizens. So by that logic, the U.S. must use its resources to promote the rights of its citizens before it can be worried about international matters. It has the obligation through the social contract, through her value criterion. Even if we're looking to the value criterion, I am clearly winning because I am upholding the social contract. So also, why should we value justice? Well, no, I have.
You have 3 minutes. Your last one's 3 minutes.
I have 6 minutes.
You've already done it, didn't you?
No,
Oh, all right. I'm so sorry.
it's all right.
I crossed out the wrong one. Keep going.
Okay, so where was I? So we have to look to justice because I mean, what's the point of having sovereign nations if you can't make your own decisions? I mean, and if we can't make our own decisions, then for justice, like promoting these sovereign nations, I mean, our value criterions go. Our values go hand in hand. Liberty is provided by the justice from the sovereign nations. So justice really encompasses liberty. So we're looking to justice as well. So, as I've shown, I mean, her value criterion really doesn't connect to her case at all. So, on to my case. My opponent never addresses my value criterion of international stability, so we have to look to that in the round, because I made attacks on hers, but she didn't make attacks on mine. So, by going on this thing of, like, international stability, I am winning the round. I am winning the round because when the U.S. intervenes, it disregards the culture. We're not saying, like, we could go into like an Islamist nation and be like, okay, here's all these beliefs that you've never seen, and we're just totally like, when you do that, you are uprooting the culture of the nation. And that has proven over history to not be successful. And she didn't counter that, so that can be extended. And so she said that it doesn't hurt the U.S. because it provides resources to other countries, but even looking to her value criterion of the social contract, we can see that it hurts the U.S. because the U.S. has the obligation to its citizens, and when we focus the obligation to the citizens away to another country's citizens, then we are depriving our citizens, and that goes against the social contract. So it does hurt the global nations because, as we've seen through the Cold War, when we have these interventions, there's just unnecessary loss of life, and the Cold War could have easily escalated. And that's like, we could be facing a whole new realm. I mean, thank you. I urge you to negate.